What's good, teacups? I'm back in Los Angeles after an amazing vacation in the Bahamas, all right? Fell in love with the Bahamas, fell in love with the food, fell in love with the vibes, fell in love with the people, the locals. It was just awesome, all right? A piece of me is honestly still in the Bahamas, but I brought a piece of the Bahamas here with me today. So that being said, we're gonna be making a Bahamian-inspired salad. This salad is gonna consist of some cabbage and chicories. We're gonna be having a spicy coconut tamarind vinaigrette. We're also gonna be having some citrus fruits because it's still winter time and we love citrus fruit. And then we're gonna be having some salty, sweet, crunchy peanuts. I know, sounds great. The recipe is gonna be down below in the deets. But before we get started, make sure you guys tap in with me on Instagram and tap in with me on YouTube. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Let's get into it. So today, we're gonna be starting with making our salty, sweet, crunchy peanuts because they do take a little bit of time and I want them to cool down. I don't wanna toss any hot peanuts in my cold salad. You feel me? Okay, capiche. So these peanuts have already been toasted and salted. Pretty much we're just taking 30% of the weight of the peanuts in sugar, all right? I'm gonna start with adding some sugar and just enough water so that it's like wet sand. I know what wet sand looks like. Bahamian sand. All right, and you're gonna take the peanuts and you're just gonna pop them in with the sugar. So the reason I'm using these peanuts is because like when I was like driving around the Bahamas, I noticed that like they were selling like fresh peanuts on the street and they actually call them Benny. So the Bahamians call peanuts Benny and I think that's really cute. And that's why we're using these peanuts today in our Bahamian-inspired salad. A tip to making these nuts like really, really perfect and evenly coated in the sugar, you just gotta keep stirring them. So pretty much at this point, all of the Benny is coated in the sugar mix. So now we're just looking for some caramelization. Okay, so the Benny gets coated in the sugar, and after you're mixing it and mixing it, the sugar starts to come off of the Benny. And the sugar that's coming off and falling into the pan is gonna start to caramelize. Get nice and brown and sexy, just like me, you know what I'm saying? I came back with that Bahamian tan, I don't know if you guys can tell. Sis is glowing and we're living for it. So at this point, you wanna make sure you're continuing to stir. They burn really quick, which is something we don't want. All right, so as you can see, the sugar is caramelizing. Some of the clusters of sugar are nice and brown, but we are not there yet, all right? We're gonna keep mixing and mixing and mixing. Takes a lot of work, but trust me when I tell you this is gonna be the best candied nuts you've ever had, and you can quote me on that. Okay, so as you can see, they are nice and tan. They still on the way to being super sexy and golden brown. Sugar burns really quickly, so as you can see, I've kind of removed it from the heat. So it's one of those things that you kind of have to like feel out and check out, see, smell, taste. Obviously, we're using all of our senses when we're cooking, but like you definitely want to look out for any burning of the sugars. So I'm kind of like messing with my heat by removing it, putting it back on. This is what we're looking for. Nice and golden all the way through. Sugar is coated and sexy and caramelized. So at this point, I'm gonna remove this from the heat. So I'm just gonna add a touch of peanut oil into the Benny. Give it a toss. Oops, there I go, making a mess. And I'm just going to transfer them onto this sheet tray. These are really, really hot, so oops, it's still hot right there. So I've just transferred the Benny onto a sheet tray and we're gonna get into all the other amazingness. So now we're about to get into the dressing. So I'm gonna take a bowl. I'm gonna add some brown sugar. You guys can use coconut sugar if you guys have it. I'm just gonna add it straight into the bowl. And then I'm gonna add my tamarind paste. Tamarind is like an islander thing. I'm an islander as well. I mean, a Pacific Islander. And we have tamarind in the islands. And I fell in love with this hot sauce in the Bahamas. It's tamarind hot sauce. Okay, so I'm gonna be adding some of this tamarind hot sauce into the vinaigrette. I'm gonna add a splash. Just gonna give this a mix till it's like nice and wet. That smells so good. Indent. Ooh, I shouldn't have smashed that so hard considering I'm gonna grate this garlic in our dressing as well. So now I'm just grating some ginger. And then y'all, I'm gonna be taking some limes and zesting them in to here as well. Okay, so now that I have a pretty healthy amount of zest in there, I'm gonna start to juice our limes. I love that in the Bahamas, like lime was like the condiment for everything. Loved that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and whisk all this good stuff together. And now is a good time for me to add in our coconut milk. So now I'm gonna take some Thai chilies and I'm just gonna slice them really thinly. This is gonna help add to that spice that's already in that dressing from the tamarind hot sauce and the ginger and that raw garlic. Just gonna boost that flavor. Give that a mix. You can totally add more Thai chili than that, but I don't want it to be like overly spicy, and I still want to garnish with a little bit of Thai chili, so I'm gonna give this a taste and see what I need to do next. That's popping, but I am going to add a little bit more tamarind. So a little bit more tamarind paste because we need that and it needs us. And I'm using every dish that I can to make a salad. You know what's awesome about this too? This can go in a jar and kick it in the fridge for however long. I'm gonna add one more douse of our tamarind hot sauce. Taste. Okay, that is damn perfect. So our crunchy, salty, sweet nuts are done. Our dressing is done. Now we're gonna get into the garnishes and other amazing things that we're gonna be on this. So I'm taking some grapefruits and I'm just going to supreme them. This kind of grapefruit has so much freaking pits. Why you got so much? Like, what is under there? Let me clean this up and I'll be right back. Now that I have this jagged edge grapefruit, I'm gonna segment as much as I can from here. So this salad is really just like inspired from like my experience and the food that I ate, what I saw. So I'm just gonna continue to do this with all the other grapefruits as well, and I'll be right back. So now that the grapefruits are cut, I'm gonna take our Satsuma and I'm gonna remove the leaves. And then I'm just gonna peel them. I'm gonna just do it really gently because I wanna keep the fruit intact as much as possible. Okay, so you're probably gonna think I'm crazy for this step that I'm about to do, but I'm just gonna like try to remove as much of the vein and that outer white that I possibly can. It's totally optional, you don't have to do this, but I want it to be like pretty clean when I take a bite of the salad. So I'm just going towards the veins and kind of just like pulling it off. Like I said, you don't have to do this. You're probably like, girl, bye, ain't nobody about to do all that. But hey, it's gonna just change the experience of eating it. So I'm gonna clean these and I'm gonna be right back. So I'm going to take these and I'm gonna try to gently cut them right down the middle lengthwise like that. So So we have these beautiful, beautiful Gorgina Satsumas here. And I'm going to lightly tear them apart so that I don't crack the skin. And then I'm gonna have like little petals, just like that. You guys officially think that, girl, you're crazy. Ain't nobody doing all that. Totally get it, totally understand. So there's that and that. Now we're gonna get into the endive, which is one of the chicories that we're gonna be using today. I'm gonna just take the bottom off and then the outer leaves. I like to just discard those. I'm gonna take our endive leaves and I'm just going to peel back until they're nice open like this. This is like one of my favorite pieces of the endive to eat. So buttery. So I'm gonna check those leaves. And if you guys didn't know, chicories are, there's a bunch of chicories. There's like so many different kinds of chicories. It is seasonal in the winter time, which is why I decided to use this. But also they're very bitter. There's like different bitterness in each kind of chicory. So I'm gonna be using this, and I'm gonna be using some escarole. Escarole is a little bit more bitter. It's gonna go great with the grapefruits and our sweet satsumas and our bitterness in the grapefruit and the sweetness in the grapefruit and then the sweetness of the peanut. And we're also gonna have some fresh cilantro and mint in there as well. So the salad's just gonna really like have all kinds of balance and flavor. So I'm just taking the endive, and the smaller pieces I'm not gonna cut. So I'm gonna let that be like that. But I'm gonna just cut the other ones at a bias. I like to do this because it keeps like the shape of the endive. And it just looks nice and clean. So I like to cut it at a bias. You can do whatever you want though. You can cut them in half lengthwise down the middle if you like that look. But this is how I like to live. So I'm cutting it at a bias. So I'm just gonna set these aside. Here comes our other chicory, which is the escarole. I wish I could have found some for Zay. I couldn't find any. I'm going to take all of the outer leaves out of this as well, just because they're like a little bit beat up and I don't love that. I like to keep like the heart. I like to really use the hearts. And I'm just gonna clean these. I'm gonna pop them into a bowl of ice cold water and clean them, remove all the dirt, and then I will be right back. So now that we've cleaned these beautiful little pieces that like the hearts, I'm not gonna really touch them. They're just gonna go straight with the endive that we cut. This larger yellow one, I'm gonna tear thirds. Obviously you kind of don't want like humongous greens when you're eating. So kind of just like go with that. The darker the green, the more bitter it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and just continue to break these down and I will be RB. Now I'm gonna take our cabbage. So in the Bahamas, cabbage is like a staple. Cabbage is like one of the main sides and I love the way that they cook cabbage. But today I'm gonna do the cabbage raw. And I'm just gonna take probably like, honestly, only like a quarter head, and I'm just gonna remove the core here. And then I'm gonna slice it like this, the short way, like this. All right, so now that we have everything meased out, we're gonna start to build our salad. I'm gonna start by taking some of our cabbage, just a little bit, just whatever I'm gonna use. I don't wanna overdress everything, so I'm only gonna do it like per serving. I'm gonna take our dressing. I'm gonna kind of heavily soak the cabbage because it's like a little bit more dense. And it can take lots of dressing. And then I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of salt. And then in a larger bowl, I'm just gonna take what I'm gonna use for my greens. And I'm gonna do the same thing as well. Just gonna dress a little bit of the greens. looks to be like a good amount to me. And obviously this is a little bit more delicate, so you don't want to add the same amount of dressing, but you still want to make sure you get a good amount. A little bit of salt to that as well. I'm gonna give this a light toss. And then I'm gonna add some fresh mint into this. And a little bit of cilantro as well. I'm gonna give this a taste. Wow. Honestly, I'll just a tad bit more. So that's really, really good. And then I'm gonna add some of our grapefruits into this as well. A different variety of grapefruits. And I don't really wanna burst it, but I'm just gonna lightly toss it just so it's like mixed in there with everything. Then I'm gonna give our cabbage a taste. Wow, that really holds up and soaks in all that dressing. So I'm gonna take the plate and I'm gonna start off by adding some cabbage on the bottom. And then I'm gonna take our dressed chicories and kind of like build up like this. Make sure we get some cilantro in there, some mint. And then to this first layer, I'm gonna take some of our peanuts. See how like they clustered up like that? So beautiful. I'm gonna kind of break them, not all the way. I still want them to be like clusters. And I'm also gonna add some grapefruit on the bottom. And then I'm gonna continue. Oh, also, don't forget these guys right here. We're gonna add a little bit of these. And I'm not dressing them because I don't want to mess them up. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of the dressing and add them right on top. So next layer, some cabbage again, just like that. And again, with the chicories. Some grapefruit in there, chicories, my jutes like that. So now I'm gonna add the last layer of cabbage, which is also gonna give it some nice color. That. And make sure I get the last of that dressing. And go some more Satsumas. Some more of those peanuts. Peanut clusters. Some cilantro leaves. A little bit more Thai chili. Some mint. And maybe a few more grapefruits. There we go. All right, y'all. So it did take a little while to make the salad, but totally worth it. I can't wait to take a bite. Wait a minute. I think I really just did something here. Best salad I've ever made and ever ate in my life. Hands down. And it's vegan. Love that for us. What a way to start off 2021. Clean eating. Inspiration. Love. I thought about this on the plane back home. I was like, how can I do something that's like really inspiring? You know, like take a little bit of what I ate in the Bahamas and make it my own dish. In no way, shape, or form am I saying that this is Bahamian food, okay? Don't get it twisted. But I am saying that this is inspired by my trip to the Bahamas and it is to die for. But honestly, this is probably the best salad I've ever made. I really hope you guys make this. Like I said, the recipe is gonna be down below in the deets. And until next time, peace, love, and blessings.